value it extremely highly, then they can get themselves the Rakan and Xayah just like they did in Game 1.
Similarly, I wonder whether Edwards says, the Rakan was fine, we played the early game phase incredibly well, I can play against this? Or whether it just becomes a ban, as we've seen so much through the play of this tournament. It is so hard to ensure that you play each stage of the game correctly against Rakan, and if you make one mistake, it just flips on its head.
Well, so far no Kai'Sa at least, as Flash Wolves do ban it and Anivia for their first two, where we've got Skarner, Morgana, and Camille as the next ban.
Interesting. So remember in Game 1, Gambit put a lot of priority onto banning away the junglers. We see the Skarner ban come out again, but this time Sejuani has been left up and available for Mujin. Gangplank is the other big one that I see available right now. And with the Rakan ban, you have to imagine Gambit put early focus on that champion.
Staios has played already this tournament. He's looked good, but lane bully Braum is #1 priority for Gambit.
And potentially this means that Gambit are valuing the Ornn pick incredibly high. We saw the fact that it was banned away last game. Both of these teams do like to have some form of solid engage coming out. I think it's more than fair to say. And with the Braum Ornn combo, not really all that many counters to it.
The other big thing here is that something we said at the beginning of the cast was Flash Wolves love Ezreal Braum. And it was Flash Wolves that banned the Ezreal in Game 1, and it's something that Gambit have played a lot themselves. So they're more than happy to pick that one up, is what I imagine. And I wouldn't be surprised to see them actually forego the Gangplank and instead get themselves an early jungler, maybe even the Kha'Zix or the Nocturne themselves as an answer.
Have a chance to pick it, of course, with Trundle and Varus actually being the picks. Diamond counterpicks Graves, as Ezreal does go over to Lodic.
And this is a pick we saw yesterday, played to huge success from Yijin. Obviously, there was another attempted counter pick of the Trundle demonstrated yesterday in the Kindred. I certainly wasn't as much of a fan as that as what the Graves was able to do. And this is a pick that potentially could still be, I don't want to reach for it, but Maple's historically played Gangplank to an incredibly high level.
That is true.
Certainly something we see much more in the top lane nowadays.
I'm expecting it to go in the top, and as you identified, the Ornn is what I'm expecting to be a high priority for Gambit. Wouldn't be surprised if Flash Wolves look to ban it away. I don't think they'd be that worried about banning something like a Maokai away.
I think all of a sudden Gambit do need to attack Sword Art's champion pool, because if you got Gangplank top lane, if you've got Trundle in the jungle, potentially have Varus to start up these fights, but you really want something like an Alistar flying into that backline.
Oh yeah.
And I think that that's where the priority does swap.
Well, Vladimir ban actually for Flash Wolves, so far on their side, hitting Kira with one ban away, but it's actually a Rise again. Maple's Rise once again will receive a ban, maybe just too strong, and obviously with Maple having counterpick, it can be a bit tough.
He's a terrific Rise player. It also splits the map up into a 1-3-1. As soon as Sterix comes through for Gangplank, at the moment he loses not many matchups with the Grasp of the Undying build. If you then add a Rise to that team composition, they can collapse very quickly through the ultimates and would be able to control some of this rift.
Interesting. So initially I thought the Vlad ban may have even been directed towards topside, because against the Vladimir it can be difficult for the Gangplank, and they'll both scale up relatively well, and then the Vlad obviously has strong late game value, but with the Cassio ban on top, it could also be directed towards Kira, so they're just trying to pinch that pool. Perhaps they're looking at something a little bit more creative in the middle lane, but you already talked about it, Spawn. The Alistar engage from the side of Flash Wolves, it looks like that is where they're heading towards right now.
Sword Art's a monster Alistar player.
Yes, he is.
Historically, it's been his best champion. Obviously picking up Rakan, which is kind of like good Alistar nowadays, but goes back to the old faithful Mukau. And a pick that is just so fun to watch it.
As you called out, Spawn, not really attacking Sword Art's champion pool at all, so given free reign, we'll take the Alistar here on this side. With Karma Ban, there is a little less for Maple to counterpick from, but Gambit still lining up these two picks, and Maple will likely get counterpick.
And we saw the Karthus ban coming out from the Flash Wolves in Game 1. I'd be a little surprised if they went for the Karthus again, something like an Ornn. And thinking about some of the other mid laners that are available, Azir is one of the ones that kind of springs to mind.
Well, there's the one we expected. It was not banned either. Two mid laners instead for the Flash Wolves. So I think this comp very much falling into place as we expected from Gambit. But what does Kira pick blind here? That's the lane he now has to address.
I would love the Azir pick, because it pretty much guarantees topside shove, and that does the opposite of that. I was going to say, with a Graves, if you get topside shove, he can just repetitively run into the jungle and will be able to challenge Mujin in that one-on-one fashion. Diamond does need to step up in this series. However, going towards a blind pick, Cassidy?
Line pick Kassadin. That is fascinating. Now, okay, question. Do you put the Gangplank mid and then you put a Swain top into
That
the
would be
Ornn?
juicy.
Because Gangplank has typically been known to be a really good pick into the Kassadin as well.
I mean, Klepto would be able to farm up fine. I think the thing that Kira is looking towards here is that the game was slow. And they have so much scaling on their side. Varus becomes a turret. Gangplank is going to, you know, just become this time bomb. You got Alistar farms so well, scales so well into the latter stages of the game. If you get Cassidy and you just sit in a lane and the laning phase goes for another 17 minutes, he gets the 3 items. He is in the exact same territory.
I don't really see the role of Kassadin in this composition because you've got a lot of, like, you have early priority with Graves, and one of the big things that he values is not only can he farm well.
Only 1 creep died in that time? That can't be right.
Apparently so.
Edward gets some love from Maple as he moves into the mid lane. I think also split XP with his mid laner.
Oh, Edward.
Maple's currently 2. Edward now going to face check. Sorta has read the next level of the play. Maple coming up. He's got the ear. Great pulver. The flash is going to pull him back in. And first blood goes beautifully over to the mid laner.
And Flash Walls punish the return of Edward. He caused them a lot of early game problems, and now he pays back with 400 gold.
That's just such a smart play from Sorta. Knowing exactly how he wants to walk down. He's been out of the laning phase for so long. This also increases the pressure on Lodic down in that bottom lane because he has to back away knowing there's 2 members of the Flash Wolves behind him.
But also I would argue that when you've seen Graves take your top side of the jungle and then you have an idea that he's probably just clearing through top side, you would imagine that Mujin would look to try and steal away the red buff. You would imagine that the expectation is he's going to try and trade half of the map. And the fact that...
Please stop it. Is if the jungler races down there and is looking to apply a gank, Mujin just in terrific position, you know, with press the attack this stage of the game. If he does get face checked by someone like the Graves, would win the 1v1.
And, you know, we talked a lot about Mujin, who right now, with his presence in the mid lane, will force a flash out from Kira. We've also got to talk a little bit about Diamond procs. Because, here we go.
Pulls back with a passive. Such creativity from the Flash Wolves, and Maple makes it 2.
And such silly play coming out of multiple members of Gambit. He tries to aggressively walk back towards the mid lane. He had no business being there after burning Flash. We said you have to gracefully lose the early game as a Kassadin, and while going down like that is not the way you do it.
Exactly that. So early flash burnt from Kira. Now the important thing to recognize is that any form of CC can be dragged in by Maple. The knockup comes out from the pillar, which allows him to bring him closer to both Mujin and Swain, and they secure themselves another early kill. 2-0 now for the Swain.
Certainly looking good there as Maple trying to take over this lane. We talked already about Kassadin's early woes. Mujin's going to make them even worse. Another route lands. The slow is there. The pillar coming in again. Kira's just dead once more. This time it's Mujin that gets the gold.
Just camp the Kassadin.
But Battle Cattle's already here with the Mobies. Now the tables have turned. Diamond procs. He knows too late that Mujin is just going to pick him up.
The chaining of CC was actually super impressive there. Headbutts him into the wall. Pillar comes out Pove. Diamond thought that with ulti with Flash, he'd be able to get out of there, but that was not the case.
I mean, what impressed me is the fact that Sorta just seems to constantly have an impact in every game that he's in. This guy roaming all the way from base towards the top side of the map, using the early Moby boots to try and shut down any kind of early playmaking that Diamond is trying to make.
But at a mid laner and having so much impact as meanwhile bottom lane.
Behind the bot side, looks like Ornn's making his way down there. But already the 2v2 has exploded. Edward looking for the stun, but can't quite grab it. Mujin hit first. TP in for the flash rolls. Edward gonna get messed up in the pillar. He'll go down. It's Mujin that gets yet another kill. Predicting the shift there as Lodic does finally get away after the vision slow. But the flash rolls are down here first now, looking to get their own objective.
That'll just be the Ornn horn sounded to clear out the wave. Such a versatile champion. Again, don't know if there's much more of a play to make here.
Bellows Breath gets it all down. Mujin, actually taking the turret up. Lodic might fancy himself a kill. The Barasol is going to move in. Lodic going to try and get the kill on the other side, but Stayos, he's going to be the trade. Lodic now in a 1v2, forced to flash away.
You can see the Mad Cow just sprinting down towards the bottom lane as well. Lodic wanted absolutely nothing to do with that. They do get their first kill of the game, but right now, Gambit are just going strangely aggressive.
Yeah, it feels like that they're just trying to force plays when they don't have the vision to properly do it, and Flat Walls are punishing them. Fortunately for Gambit, Diamond had just taken the Rift out and they were able to trade it for mid. Stasios doing his best to mitigate the pressure down in bot, enabling to finally get their first kill on the board, but it is Flash Walls that are reading the map better and are shutting Gambit down in this early game.
You can see that I thought the play was just going to be to clear the wave because of exactly what you were talking about. Multiple members had to head back mid, but they continue to go for the play, and because they had held ultimate, it's not a very tanky stay on. He does break down the pillar with his head, so that's just a one-for-one trade. Sure, the shutdown is
The day will not secure in any major objectives game, but Flash Wolves, they're getting a bit of control now around the Baron. Sword Art is in a dire situation.
I think Riftwalk back in, and now Sword Art pop the ulti, and is looking a little low. Nothing left to really say. Good job ending with the ulti, and there's Diamond! Gets the assassination with collateral damage. Now Mugen getting aggressed on his Stayhouse back in the front line. Gets a knock-up. They're going to try and take down the jungler. That could be Baron, but Maple, he's poking the ulti and charging up the Nova. Lodic cutting back around as Stayhouse does fall. Vision of Empire also a good tool. Flash Wolves barely escaping with a trade.
Yes, the front line ended up dropping for Flash Wolves, but their damage dealers were still primed and ready to go. Stasios drops. Kira doesn't have the Zhonyas yet. He'd already used the shield, and Gambit just overcommitted to what was already a good-looking fight.
And Maple was clutch. He just went into Demonic Ascension again. We're going to see it. This starts with Sword Art getting caught out. It looks fantastic. Lodic just looking for poke over the wall. You can see he's doing damage. I thought with the ulti from Edward that this team fight was done and dusted because they are standing in the middle of the Braum ultimate so slow. Mugen also falls down, but forward steps Maple. He's creating such a huge zone for the team, and the damage that is coming out of him is sick.
Yeah, I mean, you also had the Gangplank there just wailing on them from the backline, Betty as well, and just the focus from Gambit was just on killing Mugen rather than on trying to do
it was actually the Gangplank that did it. So what I wanted to point out was that Gangplank, after that skirmish, like, you know, where he was whacking him, went back and bought an immediate last whisper.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm sick of this crap. I don't want to hit this guy.
I feel like this time round, they are not the ones with the stronger 5v5.
Ooh. Edward just gets a shield up in time, but he's in trouble.
There's just so much CC. He's dead already before he can hit the ground. A knock-up is going to find two after the Orno, but Sword Art just walks away.
Yeah, Lodic is doing a fair amount of damage, but his front line is continually falling down.
Kiri going back in again. He's trying to charge up the Riftwalk stacks. They've got Maple's ulti. Now they can maybe kite it out and try and find another kill after it wears off.
I feel like Kira's really struggling to have an impact in these fights. Good knockup from Stasios.
It actually finds the 80 carry. Betty low. Now they're going to go with it. Maple. Burns is on his Sword Art taking it up, but Kira already dead. There's just too much. Flash Wolves too far ahead. We're going to score a triple. Looking now for the Quadra as Diamond could be the next one to go. A flash Q there from Maple. The ace is completed by Hanabi.
Betty aggressively flashing forward over the wall, just looking for kills, and Flash Wolves clean house on the back end of their two carries. 2-0-6, 4-0 and 5, having huge games.
4-0. 4 right now are dead for Gambit, and the Baron is in the eyes of the Flash Wolves. A convincing team fight that's going to solidify a very strong lead in this game.
And this is a guy that we wanted to track. We said, is Betty going to be the liability that he has been in previous events? Is he going to be able to rise to the occasion? Lodic has looked good in these games, but has continually been outshone by his Flash Wolves counterpart.
Flash Wolves looking so good in Game 2. It feels like that they changed up their draft. They decided to put Maple back on more of a carry champion, and they just feel to have so much more control over the map this time around.
Well, Flash Wolves again just demonstrated so much control. We'll take another look at the ace-out replay at that team fight, because Flash Wolves made it look awfully one-sided.
So we can see initially the Braum is already dead. He got chunked down. And you have Kira just sitting off on the flank. And Stasios sees an opportunity. He wants to knock up Betty. He thinks this is our time to go. But with no ulti and with the amount of damage that Flash Wolves have, you can just see how much quicker Kira dies relative to the Zhonya's empowered Maple, who's able to turn this fight around.
Absolutely. You see in the end, Betty kiting out, hitting priority targets. In Kira, flashes over the wall, picks up Lodic with a huge crit. And the fact that Edward was not there meant that the Gangplank barrels no longer were being blocked, and they were blowing people up.
Well, the gold lead's starting to get out of control. The Flash was 7,000 gold ahead, and Gambit, we said it, they are a Baron-centric team, but that cannot be your whole game plan. Apart from a straight Rift Herald here and there, they've been practically shut out of Dragons, and Flash Wolves have just been better on the map so far. Gambit needs something else, not just in this game, but in the series as well.
And for the Flash Wolves, this is such a big confidence game because you gotta remember, Mujin and Hanabi, the new faces on this roster. Hanabi just a rookie, and for Mujin, yes, he played in the Challenger Series in Europe before, but still a fairly experienced player. They're now taking it to Gambit, and they have their eyes on the inhibitor.
Siege busting GP ult's gonna give that inhibitor turret over, now exposing the bot side, but I think Flash Wolves looking frisky, might even fancy an engage.
Why not at this stage of the game? Kira still knows on his hourglass, still no level 16. He is just trying to secure farm for himself, and the base is falling around the pressure. Flash Wolves will decide that that is enough and go back and get a shot, but until Kira has a couple more items, this game is still incredibly hard to fight.
Cloudrek as well, they can pick up for a bit of extra credit as TP in from Maple just to get the wave back in their favor. Flash Wolves again approaching that 10,000 gold lead right now, sitting at 9k. Gonna make it 3 Drakes, 2 Clouds, and an Infernal. And the snowball just keeps rolling here, Spawn.
And I just feel like they're so at home. This is the style of League of Legends we've seen Flash Wolves play. You know, slow start, get our items. When we have items, group up, look for our team fights, give initiation tools to our jungler, to our support player, and they haven't been forced off any of those picks. The game plan has not changed whatsoever. And Gambit going into game 3, because that looks like where this is heading, need to find something.
Well, Hanabi, level 18 now on a game plan.
Sword Art's behind him.
Yep, Sword Art, unsurprisingly, is there to help his team.
How many blinks does Kira need to survive? The answer is it doesn't matter. Petty just takes him down. A 3-man run from Flash Wolves. They push down the top lane.
Sword Art's one of those players that you don't know whether he's a genius or a lunatic until you actually see how the play is, like, finished, because he just ran through the jungle. Obviously, a small amount of vision, but there could have been anyone waiting there, and just absolutely goes for the huge flank one more time.
Now Flash Wolves grouping up as a 5-man unit. They have game 2 set in their eyes. There are very few obstacles that stand in their way, and Gambit, they might go for a last-ditch effort, but their goals right now are just on the wave clear.
All over but for the crying, I think at this point the Flash Wolves build another insurmountable lead, and we're going to try and play it back, but Stayos gets melted. Mujin able to claim credit for the kill. How to be tanking up the tower for a little while longer. They're trying to get through the backdoor armor. They will take it down. They'll expose yet another inhib, and Gambit now playing 4v5 defense.
Flash Wolves with such a great dive, but now the TP flank.
Here's the play they need. They know they need to make Kira the only level 15 and try and make something happen. He wants Maple, but he can't grab it. Gets destroyed by Hanabi. And now the chase is back on. Edward gets clipped by the Vision of Empire slow. Logic in there as Betty dominating, takes down the Braum. In him, likely ignored. They're going to go straight for the kill here.
It does not matter. The Nexus turrets are already under fire, and the Flash Wolves looking to close out game 2.
Again, they need to pick it up before. They want to represent better on an international stage, and they are 1 game away from reaching that goal. Up do they dive. The odd Nexus bound also.
Flash Wolves with a clean, calculated game. We saw so much roaming from